Sagrada is a dice drafting game for 1 to 4 players from Floodgate Games. Players assume the role of artists and try to create the most beautiful stained glass in the Sagrada Familia. Will your stained glass be the most beautiful of all, or will you end up with shattered dreams? Let's find out in Sagrada. To start, shuffle the private objective cards and deal out 1 to each player face down. These cards are your secret objective and will give you bonus points at the end of the game for the number of that colored dice you have. Players choose a window frame board, then give each player 2 random double-sided window pattern cards. Each player will choose one of the window pattern cards and receive favor tokens equal to the number in the bottom right-hand corner of the card. Then, players slide the card into their window frame board through the slit at the bottom of the board. Place the round tracker near the center of the table where all players can easily see. Shuffle the tool cards and place 3 random cards face up. Shuffle the public objective cards and place 3 random cards face up under the tool cards. Place the 90 dice into the dice bag, choose a starting player, and you are ready to play. The starting player rolls the number of dice equal to the number of players doubled plus 1 from the dice bag. For example, in a 3-player game, I would take 7 dice out of the bag. Once the dice have been rolled, the player chooses a die and places it in their window. In order to place a die, there are some rules you have to follow. First, you must abide by the rules on your window pattern card. Each pattern card is different. Some of the spaces must be filled with a specific number or color, while the white spaces can have any color or number die. Second, a die cannot be placed next to another die of the same color or number. However, they can be placed diagonally. For example, this green 6 cannot be placed here because I already have a green die here. However, I can place it diagonally if my pattern card allows it. You may want to keep this in mind while you are starting to fill up your board. You wouldn't want to place a blue die here because the space next to it requires that color. If during the game you notice that someone has broken one of these 2 rules, you can call them out on it. If you do, they must remove one of the offending die from their board. They do not get to replace this die. You may use your favor tokens to use one of the tool cards, which is a great option if you cannot take one of the dice in the pool. These cards can be anything from changing the number on a die to exchanging a die in the pool with a die in the bag. The first player to use a specific tool card will pay 1 favor token. When any other player uses it, they must pay 2 favor tokens. You can only use 1 tool card per turn. Play continues clockwise until you reach the last player. Then, play reverses so the last player will go first, picking their second die. Once play gets back to the original starting player, place the leftover die onto the round tracker. If for some reason there are multiple dice left over, they do not take up multiple spaces. Then, the dice bag is passed clockwise to the next player and the next round begins. Play continues for 10 rounds. Once you have played 10 rounds, the game is over. Remove the dice from the round tracker and flip it over to reveal the score tracker. Place each of the scoring tokens that match the player boards next to the score tracker. Players will earn victory points based on 3 things: the public objective cards, their private objective cards, and favor tokens. The public objectives are worth the amount of victory points listed in the bottom left-hand corner of the card. These can be scored as many times as you have completed them. For example, this card gives me 6 points for having rows with no repeating colors. I have 2 complete rows with no repeating colors, so I would get 12 victory points. Your private objective cards are scored by adding up the face value of all the colored dice that match your card. For example, if I add up all of my green dice, I would get 14 points. Finally, for every favor token you did not use, you gain 1 victory point. However, if you did not complete your window, you will lose a point for each open space on your board. The player with the highest score wins. If there is a tie, whoever has the most favor tokens wins. If the tie continues further, go by the reverse order of the last round. This player has created the most beautiful stained glass in the Sagrada Familia, putting all others to shame. And that's Sagrada.